Hi, I'm Eleanor Thompson, Ellie to everyone who's known me longer than 5 minutes. I'm 62, widowed, and right now I'm sitting on the wide front porch of the only house I've ever really called home, a classic white colonial in Westport, Connecticut. White picket fence, wraparound porch with a swing that still creaks the same way it did when my husband Richard and I bought this place in 1987. Back then, interest rates were through the roof, but we scraped together every penny we had and made it ours. 38 years later, the mortgage is long gone, the oak tree out front is taller than the roof, and the garden beds are bursting with the same peonies Richard planted on our first anniversary. Richard passed 10 years ago, massive heart attack while he was mowing the lawn on a Saturday morning. One minute, he was waving at me through the kitchen window. The next, the neighbor was pounding on my door. I still can't look at that lawnmower without my chest tightening. But life doesn't stop, does it? I kept the house running, kept the grass cut, kept the lights on. This place is my anchor. Every room has a story. The kitchen still smells faintly of cinnamon from the rolls I made every Christmas. The living room mantel holds the same framed photos. Our wedding in '79, Ryan's kindergarten graduation, the three of us at Disney World in 1998 when he was 8 and thought Mickey Mouse was the greatest thing on earth. Ryan, my boy, my only child. He's 35 now, tall like his dad, dark hair, quiet smile. He was always the kid who'd rather build Lego spaceships than play tackle football. Smart, top of his class at Yale, computer science degree, then straight into Silicon Valley for a few years before he came back east. Now he works remotely as a senior software engineer for some big tech firm. Makes more money in a month than Richard and I made in a decade, but he's never once acted like it. Still calls me mama when we're alone, still sends me funny memes at 2 a.m. when he can't sleep. After Richard died, Ryan became my lifeline. He'd drive up from the city every other weekend. We had our rituals. Saturday morning, he'd help me with the garden, pruning roses, pulling weeds, both of us covered in dirt. Sunday afternoons, we'd watch football. He's a die-hard Giants fan. I'm a Patriots girl, so we argued every play. I'd cook his favorite, pot roast with carrots and potatoes, gravy so thick you could stand a spoon in it, and apple pie with extra cinnamon. He'd fall asleep on the couch after, head on a pillow I'd sewn from old flannel shirts Richard used to wear. I'd cover him with the Afghan my mother crocheted and sit there watching him breathe, thinking, this is enough. This is everything. He dated here and there, nice girls mostly, but nothing stuck. I never pushed. I figured when the right one came along, I'd know. And I did. Her name was Sophia, 32, from New York City, marketing consultant for a luxury fashion brand. Ryan brought her home for dinner on a Sunday in early spring, almost 2 years ago now. I'd spent all day cooking, herb-crusted salmon, roasted asparagus, garlic mashed potatoes, and my famous lemon blueberry tart. I even ironed the tablecloth. When they walked in, she was everything I didn't expect and everything I secretly hoped for. Tall, long, dark hair that fell perfectly straight, designer jeans, silk blouse, the kind of effortless beauty that makes you feel like you should have worn lipstick. But she smiled, really smiled, and hugged me like we'd known each other forever. Ellie, your house is gorgeous, she said right away. I love the crown molding. And that smell? Oh my God, is that salmon? She asked about my recipe, genuinely interested. She complimented the garden, asked about the peonies. She even laughed at Ryan's terrible jokes. By the end of the night, I was thinking, okay, this could work. They dated for a year, long distance at first, her in Manhattan, him in Stamford, but he started staying over at her place more and more. I missed him, but I was happy. He sounded lighter on the phone, happier. When he told me they were engaged on a sunset vineyard tour in Napa, I cried happy tears for the first time in a decade. The wedding was last spring, a vineyard upstate. White tents, fairy lights, wildflowers everywhere. I walked him down the aisle. His dad would have loved that. And when he kissed her under that big oak tree, I thought, my boy's found his person. Life is good. I had no idea how fast everything would change. After the honeymoon in Italy, they came back tanned and glowing. Ryan called me one evening while I was deadheading roses. Mom, we've been talking. The apartment lease is up in 2 months, and the market is insane. Would you mind if we moved in with you for a bit? Just until we find the right place. I didn't even hesitate. Of course, honey, this house has plenty of room. Bring her home. Sophia texted me the next day. Thank you so much, Ellie. This is going to be so fun, like a little family adventure. Heart. I smiled at the heart emoji. I spent the next week deep cleaning the guest suite on the second floor, new linen sheets with tiny blue flowers, fresh towels, a little welcome basket with dark chocolate, a bottle of Pinot Noir, and a candle that smelled like summer. I even bought new pillows for their bed, memory foam, the kind they sell at Bed Bath & Beyond. I stood in the doorway of their new room, looking at the sunlight pouring in, and thought, this is going to be wonderful. I had no idea that in just a few short weeks, the house I'd built my entire life around would start to feel like someone else's, that the woman who married my son would overnight turn me into a guest in my own home. But that's the story I'm about to tell you, and trust me, it's longer than you think. They got back from Italy on a Tuesday in early June, tanned and glowing like they'd stepped out of one of those travel magazines I flipped through at the hair salon. Ryan texted me from the airport. Landed, picking up the car, be there by dinner. I'd spent the whole day buzzing around like a teenager waiting for a first date. I deep cleaned the already clean house, changed the sheets twice just to be sure they smelled extra fresh, and made Ryan's favorite chicken piccata with capers, lemon, and that buttery sauce he used to beg for when he came home from college. When they pulled into the driveway in Ryan's black Audi, I was waiting on the porch with iced tea and a smile I couldn't wipe off my face. Sophia stepped out first, sunglasses on, oversized linen shirt over a bikini top, even though we're 2 hours from the beach, carrying a straw tote that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. She hugged me tight, smelled like coconut sunscreen and expensive perfume. Ellie, oh my gosh, we missed you, she said like we were old girlfriends. Italy was incredible, but there's no place like home. Ryan came around the car lugging 2 huge suitcases and a duffel that looked ready to burst. He dropped everything, wrapped me in one of those big bear hugs that lifts me off the ground, and whispered, "Thanks for letting us crash here, Mama. You're the best." Crash here. That's what he called it. Temporary. A pit stop. I didn't know then that temporary would stretch into months that felt like years. The first couple of weeks were honestly pretty great. Mornings, I'd wake up to the smell of my own coffee brewing. Sophia had figured out the fancy machine I'd bought on sale but never mastered. She'd be at the island in yoga pants and one of Ryan's old Yale t-shirts, scrolling her phone, hair in a messy bun that somehow looked perfect. Ryan would shuffle in next, kiss the top of my head like he did when he was little, and pour us all mugs. I'd make breakfast, pancakes with real maple syrup, crispy bacon, fresh fruit from the farmer's market. Sophia would rave about it every single time. Ellie, these pancakes are insane. How do you get them so fluffy? She even started snapping pictures for her Instagram stories, tagging me with little heart emojis. I felt needed, appreciated. They'd head upstairs to their offices, Ryan in the spare bedroom we'd turned into his workspace years ago, Sophia in the little sunroom off the back that used to be my sewing area. I'd hear them on calls, laughing during breaks, music playing softly. It felt full in the house again, like when Ryan was in high school and his friends were always over. Evenings were my favorite part. We'd eat on the back deck when the weather was nice, grilled steaks, corn on the cob, my potato salad with the dill I grow in the herb garden. Sophia brought home bottles of wine from some boutique vineyard in Tuscany they'd visited. We'd sit out there until the fireflies came on, talking about everything and nothing. She told stories about growing up in the city, her big Italian family, how she and Ryan met at a networking event in Soho. Ryan would tease her about her terrible sense of direction, and she'd swat him playfully. I'd just sit there soaking it in, thinking how lucky I was to have this new chapter. But even in those early golden weeks, little things started to creep in. Tiny shifts I noticed but brushed off because, well, I didn't want to rock the boat. It started in the kitchen. One morning, I opened the pantry to grab my usual Folgers and found everything rearranged. My cans of soup were grouped by type, labels facing out like a grocery store. The baking stuff, flour, sugar, chocolate chips, was moved to a lower shelf for better flow. Sophia bounced in, smoothie in hand. I hope you don't mind, she said with that bright smile. I just organized a little. Feng shui, you know? Energy moves better when things are tidy. I laughed it off. Honey, you can organize my whole house if it makes you happy. And she did. Slowly, my spice rack got alphabetized. The Tupperware got new matching containers she ordered off Amazon. These are BPA-free and stackable. My old wooden cutting boards disappeared, replaced by sleek bamboo ones. She even swapped out my cast iron skillet for a nonstick set because cast iron is so heavy, Ellie, and it needs seasoning. I told myself it was sweet. She was nesting, making herself at home, and Ryan kept saying, "Mom, let her do her thing. It's good practice for when we get our own place." But then the living room started changing. One weekend, they came back from Home Goods with bags of new throw pillows, gray, cream, that fuzzy texture that's everywhere on Pinterest. My floral couch pillows, the ones I'd had since Ryan was in middle school, got stacked in a bin. Just temporarily, Sophia assured me. These new ones tie the room together better, more modern. Next came the abstract art prints, big canvases with splashes of navy and gold. They replaced the family photos on the mantle and the oil painting of Maine Lighthouse Richard and I bought on our 20th anniversary. "Where'd my pictures go?" I asked one evening, trying to sound casual. "Oh, I boxed them up for now," Sophia said, not looking up from her laptop. "The room felt a little cluttered visually. We can rotate them back in later." Rotate them back in, like they were seasonal decorations. I found the box in the attic the next few days. My wedding photo, Ryan's graduation, the one of Richard holding newborn Ryan in the hospital, buried under Christmas ornaments. I stood there in the dusty heat and felt the first real pang, like something precious was slipping away, and I didn't quite know how to grab it back. But I pushed it down. They were newlyweds, in love, excited about their future, and I wanted to be the cool mother-in-law, not the complaining one you see in movies. So I kept cooking the pancakes, kept smiling when she suggested almond milk instead of half and half for health reasons, kept pretending I didn't notice that my house, my sanctuary, the one I'd kept alive through grief and loneliness, was starting to feel like a very pretty Airbnb. Looking back, that was the honeymoon phase. Not theirs, theirs was in Italy. This was mine, the brief, shiny period where I still believed I was baiting a daughter, not losing my home. I didn't know then that the real changes, the ones that would make me cry in my own bedroom, were just getting started. By the time August rolled around, the honeymoon glow was still there for Ryan and Sophia. But for me, the little cracks I'd been ignoring in June and July were starting to look a lot more like fissures. The house didn't feel quite so full anymore. It felt crowded in a way that had nothing to do with square footage. It wasn't one big dramatic moment. That's the thing people don't always get. It was death by 1,000 tiny cuts. A throw pillow here, a rearranged drawer there, a comment that landed just a hair off center. Each one on its own was nothing. Put them all together, and I started waking up with this low-level hum of anxiety in my chest, like I was late for an appointment I couldn't remember. The kitchen was ground zero. I've always been the queen of my kitchen. It's got the big farmhouse sink Richard installed the year Ryan started high school, the original hardwood floors we refinished ourselves, the window over the sink that looks out onto the herb garden. I knew where everything lived. Baking sheets on the left bottom cabinet, good knives in the wooden block by the stove, my grandmother's cast iron Dutch oven on the shelf above the fridge because it's heavy and I don't use it every day. One Saturday morning, I came downstairs in my robe, ready for coffee and the blueberry muffins I'd planned to bake, and stopped dead in the doorway. Every single cabinet door was open. Sophia was on a step stool, rearranging like she was staging a house for sale. "Morning, Ellie," she chirped, not even turning around. "I'm just optimizing the layout. I had the glasses up super high. No wonder you never use the pretty ones." I watched her move my everyday water glasses, thick, sturdy ones I've had since Ryan was in Little League, to a lower shelf and replace them with a set of thin crystal stemless wine glasses she must have brought from her apartment. "Those are for company," I said weakly. "Exactly. We should enjoy nice things every day, right?" She flashed that megawatt smile. "Life's too short for boring glasses." Ryan wandered in then, hair still wet from the shower, and kissed her on the cheek. "Babe, you're amazing. Mom, isn't this great? Everything's so much easier to reach now." I mumbled something agreeable and poured coffee into one of the new everyday crystal glasses because the mugs had all been relocated to the back of a different cabinet. It felt cold and fragile in my hand. I kept waiting for it to shatter. The changes kept coming. My old coffee maker, the reliable Mr. Coffee that's brewed a pot every morning since 2005, disappeared one day. In its place was a sleek stainless steel machine with more buttons than a spaceship. Sophia showed me how to use it, all excited about the milk frother and the programmable settings. I nodded and smiled, but inside I missed the simplicity of scoop, water, push button, done. She started doing the grocery shopping. "It'll save you trips, Ellie. Just text me if you need anything special." At first, I thought it was thoughtful. Then I opened the fridge and realized half my staples were gone. Real butter, whole milk, Hellmann's mayo, the sharp cheddar I love on crackers. In their place, organic, plant-based butter, oat milk, vegan mayo, some artisanal cheese that tasted like grass. "I'm trying to clean up our eating," she explained over dinner. "Quinoa bowls with kale and tofu that night. Processed foods are so inflammatory. You'll feel so much better, I promise." Ryan nodded along, fork halfway to his mouth. "She's right, Mom. My blood work was perfect last checkup." I poked at my bowl and missed my pot roast something fierce. The living room got the full treatment next. One weekend, they drove into the city and came back with a truckload from West Elm. New rug, light gray shag that showed every speck of dirt, new coffee table, glass and chrome, no place to put your feet up. My old leather armchair, the one Richard used to fall asleep in during Sunday games, got pushed into the corner and draped with a sheepskin throw to soften it. My gallery wall of family photos, 20 years of vacations, holidays, Ryan's awkward middle school braces phase, came down entirely. In its place went 3 huge black and white prints of city skylines and a giant abstract painting in shades of beige that looked to me like someone had sneezed on canvas. "Where are my pictures?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "In the attic for now," Sophia said breezily. "The wall needed breathing room. Too many frames make it feel chaotic. We can do a curated gallery later, maybe in the hallway." Curated, like my life was a museum exhibit she was in charge of. I went up to the attic that night while they were watching Netflix downstairs, found the box labeled Ellie's Photos Temp. Temp. I sat on an old trunk and flipped through them. Ryan's first bike, Richard teaching him to fish, our 20th anniversary cruise. Tears came hot and fast. I told myself I was being ridiculous. They were just pictures. They weren't gone forever. But it wasn't just the pictures. It was the way Sophia started hosting her friends. Brunches on Saturdays with avocado toast and bottomless mimosas. Women in athleisure who talked about SoulCycle and crypto and manifesting abundance. They'd sprawl across our living room, laughing loud, leaving rings on the new glass table. One of them, this blonde influencer type named Madison, said right in front of me, "This house has such good bones, but it's giving major 90s time capsule." Sophia laughed. "We're working on it." I excused myself to fold laundry that didn't need folding. I tried talking to Ryan one evening when Sophia was at a yoga class. We were out on the deck, just the two of us, crickets chirping, the way it used to be. "Honey, I love having you here, you know that, but it feels like the house is changing a lot, and I'm not sure I'm part of the conversation." He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck the way he does when he's uncomfortable. "Mom, I know it's a lot of change, but Sophia's just excited. She wants it to feel like home for us too. And honestly, the house could use some updating. It's been the same since Dad." He didn't finish, didn't need to, since Dad died. Like the house had been frozen in time along with my grief. "It's not about the stuff," I said. "It's about feeling like I still belong here." He reached over and squeezed my hand. "You do belong here. You're the heart of this place. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. The market is still crazy. Just give it time. You'll get used to the changes." Get used to the changes, like I was the visitor who needed to adapt. I nodded and smiled and changed the subject to football. But inside, something hardened. The subtle shifts weren't so subtle anymore. My home, the one I'd kept alive through widowhood, through empty nests, through every hard day, was becoming a stage for someone else's vision, and I was starting to realize I might not have a speaking role. Fall hit Connecticut like it always does. Crisp air, leaves turning that perfect mix of red and gold, pumpkins showing up on every porch in the neighborhood. I love this time of year. Normally, I'd be out in the yard raking, stringing white lights on the porch railings, baking apple crisp with the Macintosh apples from the orchard down the road. But by October, almost 5 months after Ryan and Sophia moved in, the house didn't feel like a place for apple crisp anymore. It felt like a showroom I was renting. The changes have gone from subtle to outright takeover. My garden, my pride and joy, the one Richard and I designed together with raised beds and a little stone path, was the latest casualty. I came home from the grocery store one afternoon and found a landscaping truck in the driveway. Two guys were ripping out my lavender and rosemary, replacing them with neat rows of low-maintenance succulents and ornamental grasses. Sophia was supervising from the deck, iced matcha in hand, wearing oversized sunglasses like she was directing a photo shoot. "What's going on?" I asked, groceries still in my arms. "Oh, Ellie, you're home early," she smiled big. "We hired these guys to refresh the garden. Herbs are so high maintenance and succulents are drought tolerant. Plus, the modern look is everything right now." My rosemary bush, the one I'd babied through 3 winters, the one I used in my Sunday roast, was gone. Just gone. "But I like my herbs," I said, hearing how small my voice sounded. "I cook with them all the time." She waved a hand. "We can buy fresh at Whole Foods. It's finer anyway, no dirt under your nails." Ryan came out then, laptop under his arm. "Mom, it looks amazing, right? Low upkeep, more time for you to relax." Relax, like I was some retiree who needed simplifying. That night, I made my pot roast anyway, defiantly, with the last of the store-bought rosemary. The smell filled the house the way it used to, rich and comforting. But when we sat down to eat, Sophia wrinkled her nose. "It's a little heavy for fall, isn't it? All that red meat. I've been reading about how animal protein ages you." Ryan gave me an apologetic look but didn't say anything. He just ate quietly while she talked about her new air fryer and how we should try cauliflower steaks next time. I started eating in my bedroom after that. TV tray, door closed, watching old episodes of Murder, She Wrote with the volume low so I wouldn't disturb their flow. Then came the evening that broke something in me for good. I'd been at book club, my one night out a week with the ladies from the library. We'd read a cozy mystery, drunk too much Chardonnay, laughed about grandkids and hot flashes. I came home around 9, feeling lighter than I had in weeks, keys jingling as I let myself in the front door. The house was quiet except for voices in the kitchen. I kicked off my shoes, hung up my coat, and walked in and stopped dead. Blueprints were spread across my kitchen island, big sheets of paper with lines and measurements, a laptop open to some 3D rendering program. Ryan and Sophia were leaning over them, excited, pointing at walls. "We're doing it, babe," Ryan was saying. "Open concept is the move." Sophia squealed. "Yes, knock down this wall." She topped the one between the kitchen and dining room. "Huge island here, quartz countertops, pendant lights. It'll completely transform the space." My heart dropped straight to my feet. That wall, the one with the pencil marks tracking Ryan's height from age 3 to 18, Richard had marked them every birthday, writing the date in his neat engineer handwriting. Ryan, 8 years, 9/15/96. Ryan, 12 years, 9/15/2000. The last one, at 18, was in black Sharpie. "Off to college, love you forever, kid." I cleared my throat. "What's all this?" They both looked up, startled. "Mom," Ryan grinned, like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar, but not really sorry. "We've been planning a surprise. We're renovating." Sophia clasped her hands. "It's going to be gorgeous, Ellie. Your kitchen is so dated. Those oak cabinets scream 90s. We're going white shaker style, subway tile, all new appliances. The designer comes next week." I stared at the blueprints. The wall with the height marks was crossed out in red. "But this is my house," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Sophia tilted her head, that sympathetic smile I was starting to hate. Technically, yes, but we all live here now. It needs updating. Don't worry, we're paying for everything. It'll increase the value so much. Ryan nodded. Come on, Mom, it's time. The place hasn't changed since, well, since Dad died. Again, like keeping things the same was some sickness. I looked at that red X on the wall that held 20 years of memories and felt something snap inside me. Those marks, I said, pointing. Ryan's height marks, your dad's handwriting. Sophia glanced at the wall like she was seeing it for the first time. Oh, we can take a picture before they demo it. A picture. Ryan stepped toward me. Mom, it's just a wall. It wasn't just a wall. It was the last place Richard's hand had touched something in this house that we all shared. It was proof that he'd been here, that he'd measured our son as he grew, that he loved us. I turned and walked out of the kitchen, up the stairs, straight to my bedroom, the one room they hadn't fully invaded yet. I closed the door, locked it for the first time in years, and sat on the edge of the bed. The tears came hard and ugly, not delicate widow tears, but the kind that shake your whole body. I cried for Richard, for the house we built, for the son who used to choose me first, for the woman I was becoming, someone who tiptoed and apologized and hid in her own home. She married my son, and overnight I became a stranger in my own home. That was the line that kept running through my head as I sobbed into a pillow so they wouldn't hear. Overnight, like one day I was Mom, the center of everything, and the next I was furniture, something to work around while they built their life on top of mine. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually, the house went quiet downstairs. I heard them go to bed. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I made coffee in the fancy machine, poured it into one of my old mugs I'd rescued from the donation pile, and sat at the island staring at those blueprints they'd left out. I made a decision right then. This wasn't going to keep happening. Not the wall, not the garden, not me. I didn't know how yet, but I was going to take my house and myself back, one way or another. Winter crept in slow that year. First, a frost that killed the last of the succulents Sophia had planted, then real snow by Thanksgiving. The house looked picture perfect from the outside. White lights along the roofline, sleek and modern, no colored bulbs allowed. Wreaths on the doors that matched the new gray and white theme. Inside, though, it felt like a battlefield where nobody was firing loud shots. Just quiet, steady artillery that chipped away at me every single day. After that night with the blueprints, I stopped pretending everything was fine. I didn't blow up. I'm not the yelling type, but I drew lines in my head and started defending them. The contractors showed up the week before Christmas. Big guys in boots tracking salt across my hardwood floors, tarps everywhere, the smell of sawdust and fresh paint choking the air by 8 a.m. They started with the kitchen wall. I heard the first sledgehammer hit at 7:30 on a Monday morning. I was still in bed, coffee untouched on the nightstand. The sound echoed through the whole house. Bang, crack, thud, like they were swinging at my ribs. I got up, threw on my robe, and went downstairs. The wall was already half gone. Dust floated in the sunlight like dirty snow. Ryan's height marks, those precious pencil lines, were in pieces on the floor, mixed with drywall chunks. I knelt down, picked up a fragment with Ryan, 12 years, still visible, and felt my throat close up. Sophia was in the kitchen, AirPods in, directing traffic with a clipboard like she was running an HGTV show. She pulled one bud out when she saw me. "Morning, Ellie." "It's loud, I know. Earplugs are in the drawer if you need them." I held up the piece of drywall. "You said you'd take a picture." She glanced at it, then at the workers. "Oh, shoot, we got caught up in the momentum, but we can recreate it, just mark new ones on the new wall." Recreate it, like it was a Pinterest craft. I didn't answer, just slipped the fragment into my robe pocket and went back upstairs. That little piece of drywall lived in my jewelry box for months. The renovation dragged on through the holidays. Open concept kitchen, new island the size of a small boat, quartz counters that showed every fingerprint, pendant lights that cost more than my first car. My old oak cabinets, solid wood, built to last, hauled out to the dumpster. The dining room became flow-through space. My Christmas village, the one I set up on the sideboard every year since Ryan was 5, stayed boxed in the basement because it cluttered the sightlines. We had Christmas dinner at the new island on bar stools, take-out turkey from Whole Foods because the oven was half installed. Sophia posted photos on Instagram. Our first Christmas in the new kitchen, #renovation magic, #family. I was cropped out of most of them. I stopped fighting the big stuff. It was done. But I started a quiet rebellion in the small things, the only way I knew how to keep from disappearing completely. I cooked my old recipes when they were out. Full-fat butter sizzling in the pan, real bacon, pot roast slow cooking all day so the house smelled like it used to. I'd eat at the little breakfast nook they hadn't touched yet, watching birds at the feeder outside the window. Then I'd clean every trace before they got home. I rescued my family photos from the attic and hung them in my bedroom, every wall covered, floor to ceiling. My room became my fortress, the only place where Richard's smile greeted me every morning, where baby Ryan in footy pajamas stared down from above the dresser. Sophia noticed, of course. One afternoon, she poked her head in while I was folding laundry. "Wow, Ellie, it's like a shrine in here." She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe we could thin it out a little. All the frames collect dust." "This is my room," I said calmly, "with dust and all." She backed off, but later that week she suggested I downsize my closet to make space for their home gym in the basement. Treadmill, Peloton, weight rack, the works. My holiday decorations, my extra linens, my boxes of Ryan's old yearbooks all got moved to a storage unit she rented to declutter. I paid the first month's bill myself before she could. My things, my money. My friends stopped coming over. I was embarrassed. Construction mess, then the cold, modern vibe that didn't feel like me. My sister Joan called every Sunday. Same as always. "Ellie, you sound like hell," she said in January. "That girl's walking all over you. Pack a bag and come stay with me in Florida till they move out." "I can't leave my house, Joni. It's all I've got left of Richard, of me." "Then fight for it, for God's sake." I wanted to, but how do you fight people who love you, or say they do, without becoming the villain? The worst conversation happened in February, right after a big snowstorm. Power flickered, fireplace roaring, the three of us stuck inside. Sophia was curled up on the new sectional, gray, of course, sipping herbal tea, scrolling baby stuff on her phone. She looked up suddenly. "Ellie, can I ask you something personal?" I braced. "Sure. Have you thought about downsizing, like maybe a condo or an assisted living community? Some of them are gorgeous now. Pools, classes, no yard work. It'd be easier on you. And then we could really settle in here, maybe turn your room into a nursery one day." The room spun. Assisted living at 62? I garden, I drive a stick shift, I carry my own groceries, I volunteer at the library story hour every Thursday, reading to toddlers who climb in my lap like they're my favorite grandma already. I looked at Ryan. He was staring into the fire, jaw tight. "Ryan," I asked quietly, "is that what you think too?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "We're just worried about you, Mom. The stairs, the upkeep." I stood up slowly. "This is my house, paid for, mine. I'm not going anywhere." Sophia teared up, real tears this time. "We didn't mean to upset you. We're grateful, honestly. You letting us stay saved us so much, but it feels like we're all walking on eggshells." Walking on eggshells in my own home. I went to bed early that night. Lay there listening to them talk downstairs, voices low. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was clear. Frustration, maybe even pity. The next morning, I called a lawyer, quietly, just to know my rights. The house is in my name only. Richard made sure of that. No one can force renovations. No one can force me out. They're guests, long-term, unwelcome guests. I didn't tell them. Not yet, but knowing that changed something in me. The silent war wasn't over. I was just done surrendering. Spring finally showed up in late April, the kind of Connecticut spring that makes you forgive winter everything. The peonies I'd secretly replanted in a hidden corner of the yard started pushing up green shoots. Daffodils lined the driveway. The air smelled like fresh dirt and possibility. I turned 63 that year. Quiet birthday, just a cake from the local bakery and a call from my sister. Ryan and Sophia were at some work retreat in the city, so the house was mine for 48 glorious hours. I used the time like a prisoner on a surprise furlough. I opened every window, let the breeze blow through. I cooked a real Sunday dinner, roast chicken, mashed potatoes with gravy, green beans with bacon, and ate it at the big dining table instead of on a TV tray in my room. I turned the TV up loud to an old John Wayne movie. I danced in the kitchen to Springsteen on the radio. For 2 days, the house felt like mine again. When they got home Sunday night, I was sitting on the porch swing with a glass of wine, watching the sunset paint the sky pink. Ryan hugged me, said, "Happy belated birthday." Sophia handed me a designer candle that smelled like nothing in nature. They both looked relaxed, tanned from whatever rooftop bar they'd found in Manhattan. That peace lasted exactly 1 week. In early May, I was at the lawyer's office again, this time not just for information. I'd brought the deed, the will, every document Richard and I had ever signed. The lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Karen with a sharp bob and sharper eyes, laid it out plain. You own this house free and clear. No one can force changes. No one can force you out. They're tenants at will. Basically guests you can ask to leave anytime. No notice required under Connecticut law since they're family and pay no rent. Tenants at will. The words hit me like a cool drink on a hot day. Karen leaned forward. "Ellie, you don't have to go nuclear, but you do have options. You could give them a gentle deadline. I'd love for you to find your own place by fall, or you could set boundaries now and see if things improve." I drove home with the windows down, heart pounding like I was 20 again and breaking curfew. Options. I had options. I started small, real small, rebellions that felt huge to me. I bought new herb plants, rosemary, thyme, basil, and planted them right in the front beds, where the succulents had mostly died over winter. Sophia noticed immediately. "Ellie, the landscaper said low maintenance." "I like herbs," I cut in, calmly wiping dirt off my hands. "They make the house smell good when I cook." She opened her mouth, closed it, smiled tight. Score 1 for Ellie. Next, I pulled my Christmas village out of storage and set it up on the built-in shelves in the den, the one room they rarely used. Little ceramic houses, tiny people ice skating, the church with the glowing steeple. Ryan walked in, stopped, grinned like a kid. "Mom, you put up the village." "I did. It makes me happy." He didn't say anything else, but he sat in there that night, working on his laptop, lights from the little houses flickering on his face. I started cooking again, not hiding it. Pot roast on Sundays, lasagna with real ricotta, apple pie that filled the house with cinnamon. I'd set the table for 3 and call them down like I used to when Ryan was in high school. The first time Sophia came in, looked at the spread and said, "This looks rich." "It is," I said cheerfully. "Dig in." Ryan ate 2 helpings. Sophia picked at hers but didn't complain out loud. Bit by bit, I took space back. My old coffee maker reappeared on the counter next to the fancy one. My floral pillows showed up on the couch again, mixed in with the gray ones. I hung 3 family photos in the hallway, curated just like she'd said we could. She noticed everything. Comments got shorter. Interesting choice, going retro, but she didn't push. Maybe because Ryan started backing me up in tiny ways. "Mom's pie is the best, babe. Just try it. Let her have the herbs. It's her yard." Then came the night I laid it all on the table. It was a Thursday in June, almost exactly a year since they'd moved in. Warm evening, windows open, crickets starting their song. I made my famous pot roast, the one Ryan requested every birthday growing up. Carrots, onions, potatoes, gravy thick enough to stand a spoon in. I even baked Parker House rolls from scratch. We sat at the island, still hated the island, but it was what we had. They ate. Ryan moaned dramatically. Sophia actually had seconds. When plates were clean and we were on coffee, from my old Mr. Coffee, I took a deep breath. "I need to say something," I started. My voice didn't shake. Miracle. They both looked up. "I love you both. I love having Ryan home. I was happy to help when you needed a place, but this house is mine. It's the only home I've known for almost 40 years. It's where I raised Ryan, where I loved Richard, where I grieved him. And over the past year, I've felt it slipping away, piece by piece. Sophia opened her mouth, probably to defend, but Ryan put a hand on her arm. He nodded at me to keep going. The renovations happened without my real say-so. My things got moved, changed, stored. I've been made to feel like a guest, like I'm in the way. And the comment about assisted living, that hurt deeper than you know. Sophia's eyes filled. Ellie, I held up a hand, gentle but firm. I'm not blaming. I let a lot of it happen because I didn't want to lose my son. But I'm done being quiet. This is my house. I decide what stays, what goes, what gets painted or planted or cooked. If you want your own style, your own rules, that's wonderful, but you need your own place for it. Silence stretched long enough for the crickets outside to sound loud. Ryan spoke first, voice thick. Mom, I'm so sorry. We got carried away. I got carried away. I didn't see how much it was hurting you. Sophia wiped her eyes. I thought I was helping, making it better for all of us. I didn't realize... God, Ellie, I'm sorry. I reached across and squeezed her hand. I know you meant well, but meaning well doesn't make it okay. Ryan looked me straight on. What do you need from us? Respect and a plan. I want you to start seriously looking for your own home. No more excuses about the market. I'll help however I can, recommend realtors, whatever, but I need my house back, and I need to feel like me in it again. They both nodded. No arguing, no defensiveness. That night, after they went upstairs, I sat on the porch swing alone. Fireflies blinked across the yard. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and my new rosemary. I cried a little, not from hurt this time, but from relief. I'd found my voice. Finally. And it turned out, when I used it, people listened. Summer arrived like a deep breath I'd been holding for a year. The house smelled like fresh herbs again, my rosemary and basil thriving in the front beds, tomatoes ripening on vines I'd planted along the fence. I'd taken back the garden completely, spending mornings out there in my old sun hat, hands in the dirt, feeling more like myself than I had in forever. After that Thursday night dinner where I finally spoke my truth, things shifted. Not overnight, nothing ever does, but slowly, like ice melting in spring. Ryan and Sophia didn't pack bags the next day, but something in the air changed. Conversations got real. Apologies weren't just words anymore. They started showing up in actions. Ryan was the first to move. The very next weekend, he asked if I wanted to go house hunting with them. We're serious this time, Mom. No more dragging feet. I said yes, curious more than anything. We looked at 3 places, a condo in Stamford, a townhouse in Norwalk, and a small colonial in Fairfield that needed work but had good bones. I gave honest opinions. Too noisy by the train, great kitchen but tiny yard, perfect location but overpriced. Sophia listened, actually listened. When I said the Fairfield one had potential if they negotiated, she nodded and made notes on her phone. On the drive home, Ryan reached back from the front seat and squeezed my knee. Thanks for coming, Mama. Means a lot. By July, they'd put an offer on a sleek 2-bedroom condo downtown. Open layout, Sophia's dream, rooftop deck, walking distance to restaurants and the train. It was accepted the day after the 4th. We celebrated with burgers on my grill, the old charcoal one I'd pulled out of the garage and cleaned up myself. Closing was set for mid-September. Those last months in the house were strange, better but bittersweet. Like knowing a long visit is ending and you're not sure if you're relieved or sad. They started packing slowly. Boxes appeared in corners, labeled in Sophia's neat handwriting. Kitchen, fragile, books, decor. I watched my gray throw pillows and abstract art get wrapped in bubble paper and thought, good riddance. But I also watched them pack the welcome basket I'd made for them the year before, the one with the wine and chocolates, and felt a pang. We found a rhythm. I cooked what I wanted, they ate it or made their own. Sophia even asked for my meatball recipe one night, pen in hand, taking notes like a student. I want to get the oregano ratio right, she said. I showed her how Richard used to roll them, wet hands, gentle pressure. She laughed when flour went everywhere. Ryan took a picture, the three of us in the kitchen, me in my apron, Sophia with sauce on her cheek. It's on my fridge now. There were hard moments, too. One August evening, Sophia came to me teary-eyed after a call with her mom. I feel like I messed everything up, she said, sitting at the island with a glass of wine. I steamrolled you. I see that now. I was so excited about building a life with Ryan, I didn't think about what I was taking from you. I didn't brush it off. I said, you did hurt me, deeply, but you're owning it. That matters. She nodded, eyes wet. I don't want to be the wicked daughter-in-law in your story. You're not, I told her. You're just human. We all make mistakes when we're building something new. We hugged then. Awkward at first, but real. Not best friends, but something closer to family. Ryan and I had our own talks, late nights on the porch, just us, like old times. He admitted he'd been spineless. I didn't want to choose between you two, he said one night, voice low, so I let her lead and told myself it was compromise. But it wasn't fair to you, Mom. You've always been my safe place. I almost ruined that. I let him sit with it. Then I said, you didn't ruin it. You just bent it pretty hard, but it's straightening out. Moving day came on a perfect September Saturday. Blue sky, low humidity, the kind of day realtors love. A truck pulled up at 8 a.m. I made pancakes, real ones with butter and syrup, for the movers and for us. We ate on paper plates in the kitchen, laughing about how the island was finally getting some real use. I helped pack the last boxes, found the fragment of drywall with Ryan's old height mark in my jewelry box, and slipped it into one of his. He'll find it someday. By 4 p.m., the truck was loaded. The house echoed. Bare walls where their art had been, empty corners where furniture used to sit. Sophia hugged me tight on the driveway. Thank you, Ellie, for everything, for giving us a home when we needed it, for forgiving me. Ryan hugged me last, longer than usual. Love you, Mama. We're only 20 minutes away. Come over anytime. I waved as they drove off, Ryan's Audi following the moving truck, stood there until they turned the corner. Then I went inside. The silence hit first. Big, heavy, familiar silence, the kind I'd known after Richard died. But this time, it didn't scare me. I walked through every room, my kitchen with the oak cabinets I'd decided to keep, the living room with my floral pillows back on the couch, the wall they'd knocked down, now patched and painted a soft cream I'd chosen myself. I made a pot of coffee in my old Mr. Coffee, poured it into my favorite mug, the one with the chip when Ryan was 10, and sat on the porch swing. The house felt empty, yes, but also full. Full of me again, full of memories that hadn't been erased. That night, I ordered Chinese takeout, ate it on the couch watching the Giants game with the volume up loud. I left dishes in the sink. I fell asleep under Richard's old Afghan. The next morning, I planted roses where the succulents used to be, deep red ones, the kind that smell like heaven. Ryan called that afternoon. Mom, the condo's great, but it doesn't smell like your coffee yet. I laughed. Give it time, honey. He came over the next weekend, alone. We worked in the garden, watched football, ate pot roast, just us. Sophia came the weekend after with a housewarming gift, a new herb planter for my kitchen window, and a genuine apology pie, apple, made from my recipe. We're finding our way, not perfect, but real. They chose compromise, and in the end, that saved us all. Sitting here on my porch swing in early October, with the leaves turning that fiery orange and red, a mug of coffee warming my hands, I can't help but replay the whole mess in my head. It's been about a month since Ryan and Sophia moved out, and the house is settling back into its quiet rhythm. The creaks in the floorboards sound familiar again, like old friends saying hello. The silence doesn't scare me anymore. It comforts me. But getting here, that took some serious looking back, some hard truths, and a whole lot of forgiveness, mostly for myself. Looking back, I see now that I let it all happen because I was terrified of losing Ryan. After Richard died, my son became my anchor. He was the one who called every Sunday, the one who fixed the leaky faucet, the one who made sure I wasn't alone on holidays. When he got married, I was thrilled. Honestly, thrilled. Sophia seemed perfect, smart, driven, beautiful in that effortless way. I thought, finally, my boy's got someone who'll take care of him like I did. But in my eagerness to welcome her, I forgot to protect my own boundaries. I said yes to everything, the move-in, the temporary stay, the little changes that snowballed into a full-blown renovation of my life. Why? Fear, pure and simple. I was afraid if I pushed back, Ryan would pull away, that I'd become the nagging mother-in-law from those bad sitcoms, that I'd lose the only family I had left. So I tiptoed. I apologized for existing in my own space. I hid my tears in my bedroom and pretended the height marks on the wall didn't matter. But they did. Every erased photo, every replaced pillow, every suggestion that I was too old for my own home, it chipped away at me until I barely recognized myself. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges. That's what I learned the hard way. They don't shut people out, they let the right ones in on your terms. I wish I'd set them sooner. Told Sophia, politely but firmly, I appreciate the help, but I like my kitchen the way it is. Said to Ryan, I'm happy you're here, but this is my space too. But I didn't. Not until that breaking point with the blueprints, when I realized if I didn't speak up, I'd lose more than a wall. I'd lose myself. The lawyer was a turning point. Just knowing my rights gave me back some power, but the real shift came when I started small rebellions, planting my herbs, hanging my photos, cooking my food without apology. It wasn't about the stuff, it was about reclaiming my voice, proving to myself that I wasn't invisible, that at 62 I still mattered. Ryan and Sophia, they weren't villains. They were young, excited, building their life. Sophia was nesting, trying to make her mark. Ryan was caught in the middle, loyal to his wife, but still my boy. Their apologies were genuine, and I believe that. But growth hurts. They had to see how their help felt like erasure to me, and I had to forgive them, not for their sake, but for mine. Holding on to resentment would have poisoned me more than them. Now, with them in their condo, things are better. Ryan visits every weekend, sometimes alone, sometimes with her. We talk real talk now, no tiptoeing. He's learned to stand up for what he believes in, not just go along. Sophia's softer too. She texts me recipes she's trying, asks about my garden. Last week she came over with homemade muffins, blueberry with real butter. Tried your trick, she said. We laughed about it. They announced the baby last month, due in spring. I'm thrilled. Nervous, but thrilled. I'll be Grandma Ellie, the one with the stories and the hugs. They've already asked me to help decorate the nursery. I said yes, but on my terms. Vintage touches, maybe the old crib from Richard's family if they want. This whole experience taught me I'm stronger than I thought. Widowhood didn't break me, it dope me. I kept this house running, kept my heart open, and when it got too heavy, I found the strength to change it. I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. My garden's blooming, my friends are coming over again. I'm even thinking about a little trip, maybe to Maine, to see those lighthouses Richard and I loved. Boundaries let me reclaim my home, and in doing so, get my family back, on my terms, with respect. That's the bridge we built, and it's sturdy enough to last. December now, and the house is all dressed up for Christmas the way I like it. Colored lights twinkling along the porch, fresh pine garland on the mantel, my little ceramic village glowing on the shelves in the den. The tree is real, a fat Fraser fir that smells like the woods, loaded with the ornaments Ryan made in grade school, and the ones Richard and I collected on every trip we ever took. No sleek white lights or minimalist ornaments here. This is full-on, nostalgic, cozy Christmas, and it feels like coming home to myself all over again. The baby's due in late April, a little girl. They told me over Sunday dinner in November, both of them beaming across the table, Ryan holding Sophia's hand like he couldn't believe his luck. I cried right there in the middle of my pot roast. Happy tears this time, the kind that sneak up and surprise you. Sophia reached over and squeezed my arm. "We want you in the delivery room, if you're up for it, Ellie. Your family." Family. The word landed soft and solid in my chest. Since they moved out, we've built something new. Not the forced togetherness of living under one roof, but chosen closeness. Ryan comes over most Saturdays, just him and me for a while. We rake leaves, put up storm windows, watch football on the couch with a bowl of popcorn between us. He talks more now, about work stress, about how excited and terrified he is about fatherhood. I listen, offer advice only when he asks, and mostly just let him be my boy again. Sophia joins us for Sunday dinners. She's softened around the edges, pregnancy glow and all. She asks for recipes, brings dessert from that fancy bakery downtown, compliments my decorating like she means it. We've found neutral ground, gardening tips, baby names. They're leaning toward Grace after my mother. Even a little gossip about her city friends. We're not confidants, but we're friendly, and that's enough. I turned the old guest suite, the one they used, into a nursery. Not for full-time, of course, but for when they need a break or when Grandma gets overnight duty. I painted it a soft butter yellow, hung white curtains with tiny blue flowers, brought down the vintage crib from the attic. It's the one Richard slept in as a baby, solid maple, passed down through his family. I sanded it myself, refinished it, added a new mattress, and the sweetest mobile with little stars and moons. Sophia came over the day I finished it, walked in, took one look, and teared up. "Ellie, it's perfect. So warm. Can we borrow some of these ideas for our place?" Borrow. Not replace, not overhaul. Borrow. I smiled and said, "Take whatever you want, honey. Pictures, measurements, all of it." She asked for my advice on their condo nursery, too. They've got a smaller room, city view, modern building. I suggested vintage touches to balance the sleek lines. A vintage quilt like the one my aunt made for Ryan, wooden toys instead of all plastic, family photos on the walls. She took notes, actually used them, sent me progress pictures last week, the quilt I helped her pick out online draped over the glider, a framed photo of Richard holding newborn Ryan on the dresser. It's healing watching them build their own home without tearing mine down. I've got new beginnings of my own, too. After years of putting it off, I finally signed up for that painting class at the community center, watercolors on Tuesday nights. I'm terrible, my trees look like broccoli, but I love it. The ladies in the class are a hoot. We drink wine from sippy cups and laugh at our mistakes. One of them, Barbara, lost her husband a few years before I lost Richard. We grab coffee after class sometimes, talk about the weird loneliness of widowhood, the freedom, too. I joined a book club again, the one I dropped when things got tense last year. Different group this time, younger mix, but they're welcoming. We meet at the library, argue about characters like they're real people, and eat too many cookies. I hosted last month, first time having people over in ages. The house looked beautiful, my things, my style, and everyone said so. I even took a solo trip in October, drove up to Maine for a long weekend, stayed in a little inn on the coast, walked the rocky beaches, ate lobster rolls, visited that lighthouse Richard and I always meant to see again, took pictures, sat on the cliffs with a thermos of coffee, talked to him out loud like he was right there, felt his presence in the wind off the water, came home renewed. Ryan and Sophia threw me a little birthday party in November. 63 isn't milestone, but they made it one. Dinner at their condo, rooftop decks strung with lights even though it was chilly. Sophia cooked, my meatball recipe plus her twist with fresh basil. Ryan grilled steaks. They gave me a necklace, a simple gold chain with a tiny star pendant for Grandma-to-be, Sophia said. I wear it every day. We're planning Christmas here this year, just the three of us. Well, four, counting the bump. I'm doing the full spread, prime rib, Yorkshire pudding, my cranberry relish, pecan pie. They're bringing appetizers and staying over. The nursery will get its first test run. Some nights, I still miss the old days. Richard's laugh filling the house, Ryan running in from school with muddy cleats. But I don't live there anymore. I live here, in this new chapter that's messy and imperfect and mine. I reclaimed my home, reclaimed myself, and in the process, I made space for this growing family without losing who I am. New beginnings don't erase the past, they build on it, and mine is looking pretty bright. Today is December 19th, and I'm sitting on my porch even though it's chilly enough for a coat and scarf. The Christmas lights are twinkling along the railing, reflecting off a light dusting of snow that fell last night. Coffee in hand, real cream, no oat milk in sight, and I'm watching the neighborhood kids build a lopsided snowman across the street. This house looks exactly the way it should at Christmas. Warm, lived in, a little chaotic with extension cords and mismatched lawn decorations. Mine again, completely. It's been over 3 months since Ryan and Sophia moved out, and almost 8 months since that night I finally laid down the law over pot roast. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago, other times like it happened yesterday. Either way, I'm not the same Ellie who cried in her bedroom over a demolished wall. I'm stronger, clearer, happier in my own skin than I've been in years. The house is full of me now. My fluoro couch pillows are back where they belong, fluffed and faded just right. Family photos cover every wall. Ryan's baby pictures next to his wedding shots. Richard grinning in his Red Sox cap beside the lighthouse painting we bought in Maine. The kitchen cabinets are still oak. I decided I like them, but I added new hardware and fresh paint on the walls, a soft sage green that makes the morning light feel warm. My old Mr. Coffee sits proudly on the counter next to the fancy machine they left behind as a peace offering. I use both, depending on my mood. The garden is sleeping under snow, but come spring, it'll burst with peonies, roses, and herbs. I've already ordered seed catalogs and marked the pages with sticky notes. Planning the yard is one of my favorite winter rituals. Ryan and Sophia's condo is coming together nicely. I've been over a handful of times. Sunday dinners rotate now, sometimes here, sometimes there. Their place is sleek and modern, big windows overlooking the city lights, but they've added warm touches because of me. The vintage quilts on the guest bed, wooden frames for family photos, fresh herbs on the windowsill. Sophia even hung one of my watercolor attempts from class in the hallway. It adds character, she said with a wink. The baby, little Grace, is due in 4 months. I'm knitting a blanket, pale pink with white stars, working on it every evening in Richard's old armchair by the fire. Sophia sends weekly bump pictures and texts asking grandma questions. Is it normal to crave pickles and ice cream? What did you use for stretch marks? I answer every one, feeling useful, needed, loved. We had our first big family moment last week, Sophia's baby shower, hosted here in my living room with 20 of her city friends and my book club ladies mixed together. Pink balloons, a diaper cake taller than me, games I pretended to understand. I made the food. Many quiches, chicken salad sandwiches on croissants, my lemon blueberry tart that everyone raved about. Sophia cried when she opened the crib quilt I'd had made from Richard's old flannel shirts, the same ones Ryan used to nap under. Ryan hugged me so tight I thought he'd crack a rib. Dad would have loved this, he whispered. He would have. I felt Richard here that day, in every laugh, every coo over tiny pink onesies. Some nights I still talk to him, out loud, on the porch or in the kitchen while I'm cooking. I tell him about the baby, about how Ryan's learning to stand up for himself, about how I stood up for me. I swear the wind answers sometimes, rustling the oak tree just right. I've kept growing too. Painting class is now twice a week. I'm getting better. My lighthouses actually look like lighthouses. I took another solo trip in November, this time to Savannah, walked those mossy squares, ate shrimp and grits till I nearly popped, joined a widow's support group at the community center, not because I'm drowning, but because I have wisdom to share now. Turns out, other women need to hear that it's okay to say no, to protect your space, to start over at 63. My sister Joan came up from Florida for Thanksgiving, stayed a week, slept in the nursery to be, declared the house finally feels like Ellie again. We cooked together, laughed till we cried remembering old stories, danced to Motown in the kitchen like teenagers. She left saying, "You did it, kid. You took it back." I did. She married my son, and for a long, dark stretch, I became a stranger in my own home, pushed aside, minimized, made to feel like my time had passed. But strangers don't stay forever if you don't let them. I stopped letting it happen. I spoke up, I set boundaries, I forgave, but I didn't forget what I deserve: respect, space, a voice. Now the house is mine again, full of old memories and new ones waiting to be made. Ryan's footsteps on the stairs when he visits, soon a baby's cry in the nursery, laughter around my table. My recipes, my decorations, my rules. I'm Ellie Thompson, 63 years old, widow, mother, soon-to-be grandmother, homeowner, artist, survivor, thriver. This is my story, my home, my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thanks for listening, friend. Sometimes just telling it out loud helps seal the healing. Now, if you'll excuse me, there's a fresh batch of Christmas cookies in the oven, and the snow's starting to fall again. Life's pretty darn good.